Hi Mansi, Shishir here. Am I audible?
Yes, Shishi, you are audible.
Poll and also we are live on YouTube. You can just cross check that.
Okay. So I think okay, Omkar is there. Uh,
Sachin is joining in 2 minutes. We still have another 10 minutes to start the webinar. I think we'll be here in 2 minutes. Hi Sachin, good morning, welcome. Sachin, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Cool,
Can
fantastic.
you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Good.
Could you just check if you have all the rights to share the screen and maybe mute, unmute?
Uh, Mute, unmute, yes. I'm just gonna start. Achha, I'm not the host yet.
Uh, Hang on. You can share the screen. You will be the co. Oh, okay, sorry. 1 second. Yes, you will be the co-host now. Can you check?
Okay, can you see my camera working now?
Yes, perfect.
It's fine, right?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, and
Share screen at the bottom.
I'm just checking. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah?
Yeah, all good.
All right, I think we are good to go now.
Yeah, we have another 5 more minutes to
Yeah,
start. We have our attendees slowly building up. We will give them another 5 minutes. You can take a quick break and probably at sharp 11 we will start.
okay, okay, okay.
Cool. Thanks so much. Sachin, good morning. Can we start? Are you comfortable?
Yeah, I think we can start. I'm ready.
Okay, cool. Let me just give a quick intro to everyone
Yeah.
attending the webinar. Guys, thank you so much for attending the webinar today. As you know, we have retouching in photography, the webinar conducted by Sachin. Sachin is conducting webinar for us for the second time. So the first time was for fashion photography, and this time it's going to be about retouching portraits in regards to photographers. So thanks, Sachin. Just to let you all know, Sachin also is a fashion photographer. He has shot vast assignments, and he mostly operates from Bombay. And yeah, so we would like to give Sachin a big thank you for conducting this. And Sachin, over to you. You can take over from here. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Shishir. Hello everyone. Good morning. I guess I'm audible, Shishir.
Yes, yes, you
Okay,
are.
okay, all right. Okay, so before we start, I would like to say something about digital photography. So basically, earlier when the photography started, and then there were films, and people used to shoot with films, and then they used to process those films in darkroom and do certain corrections and everything. Now, since we live in, I would say, digital platform or digital era, so what we do is we process the pictures or digital images uh, in Photoshop or in Lightroom or some other processing softwares. Uh, Maybe those softwares can be by Adobe or by your camera manufacturers, etc. And also we do certain corrections and edits and retouching in other softwares. So today I'll be using Adobe Photoshop and Camera Raw. The whole idea behind this particular subject or particular webinar is that I believe that photographer, also being an artist and being a creator of that image, has a certain say and certain um, point of view when it comes to editing or retouching the image. And we are going to look at an image from a photographer's point of view when we process or retouch that particular image. So that is one. And another thing is I get this question a lot, that we are a photographer or I'm a photographer. Is it really necessary to know Photoshop? Is it really necessary to uh, know photo editing or retouching? Okay. So I like to separate these two things. First of all, one is photo retouching and another is photo editing. Okay, by retouching I mean that enhancing the picture which you have shot. Okay, maybe make certain improvements which of the mistakes which you made, maybe, or maybe making certain improvements so that that picture will stand out even more, which is maybe technically not possible while taking the picture. Now that is maybe retouching, I would say. And when it comes to editing, I put it this way: these are my terminologies, that altering the image to such extent that maybe you're replacing certain part of the image completely. For example, you're adding the background in the image, or for example, you're absolutely changing certain things. Like there are certain fashion images where they uh, use two or three different images and then use three different uh, parts of each image to create one. Okay, so that let's put it that it will come under Photoshop editing. Today what we are going to look at is retouching, and I think that is very, very important for a photographer to know. One is, it's very important, so because it's your image which you have shot at the end of the day, and you are the best person to know how it should look like as an end product. And the second very important thing is, when you are, most of you, I'm sure you are a photography students or starting photography just right now, and it's really really important that if you know these basic photo editing ideas and techniques and softwares, you will definitely save some really good amount of money. When it comes to uh, paid assignment, you will definitely be able to save a good amount of or maybe make a little better profit, I would say, because at the end of the day, if you don't know it absolutely, if you don't know absolutely anything about photo retouching, you will have to end up giving those pictures to professional retouchers, and you have to end up spending certain amount of money from your pocket. So in initial time, I would really suggest that it will be really great if you improve your skills when it comes to photo retouching. I'm not saying you become a become a professional photo retoucher, or grab that kind of skill set. I mean, if you can, then nothing like it, but at least certain bare minimal knowledge which is required. I will not call myself as uh, a expert when it comes to photo editing or retouching, but I know it fair enough to express exact thoughts which I have, and I correct my own images up to such level where it will be accepted in the market, I would say. Okay, so I have three different images today, and I will be showing the editing process for these images. At the same time, in between, I will talk about these processes, and whenever any point of time, if you have any questions, maybe you can ask those questions, but I would like to answer those questions at the end of the webinar, so that we will be able to uh, keep a smooth path, the or a smooth flow in the retouching. And also that a lot of time this will happen that maybe you have a question at the beginning, maybe when I'm showing you the first image, and that question might get solved or answered when I'm working on second or third image. So but make sure that any question, if you have, please ask me. I think you will learn more by asking questions than just looking at what I'm doing. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to first show you what exactly we will be reaching, and then I will show you the step-by-step process as well. All right. Okay, I hope that all of you are able to see my screen, and so I'm going to open this first image. Okay, and the software which I use is Photoshop and Camera Raw when it comes to processing the image. Okay, now what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you the before and after first. Okay, like how the image was after shot, or after immediately after copying it from the camera, and how what is the end result. You might not be seeing a crazy huge difference, but that's the exact idea. We are here to enhance the picture and not completely change the base of the picture. Okay, so this is how this image was. I'm just gonna zoom in and show you. I'm going to show you. Okay, this is how it was after copying it into the from the camera. Then after processing, this picture looked like this. And after certain steps, which I'm going to explain you one by one, we reach to this particular level. Okay, so I'm going to work on this image again right in front of you, And while working on this image, I'm going to explain what exactly I'm doing. We will arrive at similar result, but I'm not saying that it will be exactly 100% identical to what we are seeing right now. And before we start, I would like to show you all the layers which I've worked on so that you will get an idea how deeply I work on the image. I'm saying that I don't believe in doing a lot of changes to the image, because we also need to remember that we are photographers, and we need to um, shoot maximum possible bright image when we are taking any image. So I'm just gonna turn off all these layers and I'll turn it one by one. Okay, so this was the first step, and then second, third, fourth, fifth. Yeah, that's it. So very, very simple, very basic, and you can reach to a stage, or to output which is like really, really good and industry acceptable output. Now, before I process or I start, I would like to tell you that always try and keep the brightness of your monitor to 50%. It's very, very important when you're working on any image. The reason is it's very simple, that we may see that image on either LED or LCD screens, computer displays, or on mobile, or we will be printing that image as well. So when you keep it on 50%, the output which you generate, it will be with certain brightness that will look good on the screen as well as the print. There is a lot detailed discussion which can happen on this particular topic, but I'll keep it simple, that try and keep it to 50%. Now, second important thing is uh, the monitor display which you have. It might be, I use iMac, and the display or the colors are pretty much what I get when I print the image. But there is a possibility, there are chances that you might be using some another computer, so you need um, to get it calibrated to achieve right kind of results, or right colors basically, because that's very important. If you have shot one particular color, and if you're not able to see that color exactly the way it is, then when you're doing certain alteration, maybe you will uh, mess it up, or maybe it will not look exact the same the way you want, or the way your client desire. Okay, so I'm just gonna turn this off, and I'm gonna open a raw file of the same image. All right, so this is like clean, plain raw file of this thing. All right, before we start, I would like to explain a little bit about this. So now, just because I'm going to show you this image for webinar, I'm going to keep it for sRGB. But in camera, I keep settings at Adobe RGB, and here also I always keep it Adobe RGB, because it's a larger color space. In very, very easy words, it's basically color space which has more colors considering sRGB. So it's better to use more colors when you're editing, and maybe convert it to a smaller color space such as sRGB after your editing is done. Okay, but for now, I'm okay to keep it for sRGB, because absolutely this is going to use for web purpose. So I'm okay with it. Now, if you pay attention here on this graph, I will quickly keep it to Adobe RGB, and you can see these RGB values. You can see this uh, histogram, and then I will shift it to sRGB, and immediately you can see the difference in the colors. So the amount of colors has gone low. Okay. Now depth is 8-bit and 16-bit. I most of the time when I'm working on any commercial project, I keep it to 16-bit again because I get to use more number of colors. You can see it here when I'm shifting, it's changing. Now these are the size. I'm for speed and everything, I'm keeping it for a very small size. This picture was shot maybe at around 46 megapixel, but right now we are just using 8 megapixel file from that, so that it will be easier for me to demonstrate. Okay, so it's better to keep Adobe RGB. It's better to keep 16-bit when you're working for a commercial project. Don't resize it. When you're working for a commercial project, you need to use maximum pixel. For sake of this webinar, I'm keeping it sRGB. I'm keeping it 8 bits, so and I'm resizing this image to this size, so entire process will be faster, and I'll be able to share more and more ideas with you guys. So I'll just press OK. Now the very important role which the camera raw plays is basically I divide things in 3 different ways. One is when you take any picture, when you're capturing it with your camera, it's basically you're gathering certain information, and that information is stored in your raw file. When you opening that raw file, you're just arranging that information so that when you're doing any kind of retouching and editing, it will be easier to use or alter. Okay, now when I'm seeing this image, the very important thing is I can see that there is a little bit brightness here, there is some brightness here. Okay, and this area is slightly darker. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm slightly going to reduce the highlights. I'm going to increase my exposure a little bit. Okay, not a lot. I'm going to increase clarity. Okay, so there are some people who like to pull this slider a lot, and because it creates a dramatic difference in the picture, but understand one thing, that it's going to spoil the quality of your picture as well. So you need this, but at very minimal value. Okay, now very interesting thing I came across when I started working on my images, and over the time when I worked or retouched a lot of images, I realized that when I'm working on any raw file, uh, the contrast level of that image is little way too high, and maybe I'm not able to use the right kind of dynamic range uh, when I'm working on that picture. So as a solution, I figured out that if I just reduce the contrast a little bit, my overall picture, the range of my picture is increases to a very different level. And of course, I lose certain colors in contrast, but that definitely can be increased later on. Okay, I'm going to increase the color temperature a little bit, and I think that's pretty much it. So if you remember that, there was a decent white patch here, and then there was a decent white patch here, and now I think we got rid of it. So now everything looks pretty much arranged, and I'm just going to open this image. All right, so now I have this image open, and let's just quickly go through this image and figure out what are the problems that we see in this one. So I'm just going to mark these problems. I don't like this hairline, which is not very clean and nice. So maybe we can definitely work on that. Okay. Now I can see these, if I zoom in a little more, so I can see these lines here, which I don't like. Maybe I can work on that. I don't like this red color which has come here because of the gel. So I can maybe work on that. I don't like this, there are certain color uh, pigmentation difference which is here, also a little bit here. So I can definitely take care of all of this. Okay. Now this part is still little brighter. It's because of the way lighting is done for this picture, and this part also. So this is still, needs to be worked on. The eyes can be, a little better, can be worked on it a little better. So that is it. And then I need to work on this background color here. It's because I reduced the contrast. It's slightly, it has changed the color. It's a little dull. So I need to improve that. I need to improve this red. Okay. So these are the major things. Also, I don't like the way this red is seen on the hand. If you see, it looks like a patch, and maybe I can do something about it. So so whenever you open your image, give yourself a direction. So when you identify these are the things which you need to be done, it's basically you have a direction which way you have to go, and you also know, because of this, where exactly you need to stop, because that's also very, very important. You can keep editing on same image for, n number of hours, but you need to understand that, you're a photographer again, and there is certain changes you do to your pictures, and then you need to stop. It's not that you completely change that image, then it really doesn't make sense to your photography. So yeah, so let's go ahead and start now. The first step I always do is basically I work on the skin. Okay. And to work on the skin, I basically use um, something called frequency separation. It's a very famous method, and I will I will show you this method, what how exactly um, work on that and everything. But in case you forget any of the steps, maybe if you want, you can write it down, or just maybe you can write down the name frequency separation. It's not something which I have invented or something like that. It's almost everyone uses it. So particularly this method, if you just write down this name on maybe internet, on YouTube or something, and you can just find the steps. Okay. It's important that how that particular method needs to be used, that is more important than the steps. What I have done is, because now I use it a lot, so I've made an action so that I don't have to repeat all those steps again and again. But for you guys, I'm going to use each and every step so you will understand. Now, what exactly is frequency separation? Frequency separation is basically a very interesting way of altering the image, particularly any surface of the image. I'm not going to say skin, any surface, but when I say any surface, I actually mean it can be the cloth, like cloths, or it can be also uh, a surface in your product photography. Okay. It's not necessary that a frequency separation can be used only in fashion. It can be used in all sort of photography where you need to do certain alteration to any particular surface in the picture. uh, Now what exactly it does, separation is the word which is there. So it basically separates your image into two parts. One is all the colors or color information which is there in your image, and that is separated from all the texture which is there in your image. Okay, so it's very, very, very simple. but if you use it in a particular way, the output can be really interesting. So I am going to start. I'll just go ahead and duplicate this background layer twice. Okay. Now, after duplicating it, I'm just going to click on the lower layer. I'm just turning off the upper layer, as you can see, and I'm going on a layer which is below. Okay. Now I have to blur the entire image. Okay. It can be done in few different ways. It can be done with Gaussian blur, it can be done surface blur, and it can be done with median. So I prefer using median. Okay, for the reason it blurs the pixels there, then and there, and it doesn't spread. And it's definitely a better way of blurring the entire image. Now, when you're doing this, you have to understand one thing: your image should be either on 100% or little more, and you have to understand how much radius you need to apply. Okay, so if you apply or blur it a little more, okay, then what's going to happen is you will end up having very less texture or very less alteration on your image. If you apply less, then you will end up with extremely smoother skin or surface, which will look little like plastic or artificial. So we need to use exactly right amount of radius. Now, how to understand that this is the radius which is exactly uh, right amount? Now you have to move this slider and you have to reach at a particular uh, level where you will start seeing this blur. Okay, but the colors are not mixed, but texture is gone. Okay, now if you see, the entire texture of this image is gone. Okay, but I still can see the color differences, right? I still can see the color differences. If you see it here, so there is one color here and then there is another one and then there is, at the same time, there is no texture. So 8 is a good radius. Okay. Now I'm going to keep it maybe 10. Okay. Because I want it to look a little realistic. So I'm going to give a little extra blur. So for this image, I would say something from 8 to 10 definitely can be used. Okay. Now I'm going to go for 10 pixels as a radius. Okay. Once this is done, I'm going now understand the reason we turn this off, because you're working on a lower layer. Okay. Now if you would have kept this upper layer on, then we wouldn't have been able to see the entire blur, how much blur we are applying and everything. So for that reason, we need to keep this one layer off. Now I'm going to turn that again, because we are going to make some changes on uh, the upper layer. I'm going to go to image, apply image. Okay. Now here there are certain changes which you need to do exactly same for each and every image. Okay, so I have to select the layer which is below. Okay, below this layer. Okay, for your understanding, I will name it, okay, as blur maybe, and here I will name it texture. Okay, so what I have to do is I'm going to go again, image, apply image. I have to select the layer below, which is blur. Okay. And I have to select subtract. And if you're doing it for the first time, there will be different values here. Okay. So you have to give these values 2 and 128, and you have to press OK. Right. And you will see image like this. All right. Now, if you actually understand this layer, you will see all the texture. I'm just going to show you a little more, that you can see all the texture of the file. And the reason you're seeing it like this in color, because we separated all the color and we kept it on the layer below. So now this layer has only texture and the layer which is below is only color. Okay, now we separated it. Now the next step is to make it workable. What we are going to do is we're going to change the blending mode to this is to linear light. Okay, the moment we do it, change it to linear light, what's gonna happen is we will exactly see this image like the way it was when we opened it. Okay, so this is how it was when we opened it, and this is how after uh, when I turn both these layers on. Okay, and if you want to see separate layers, so this is now our blur or color layer. I will change it to color actually, and this is texture. So this now all this what you see is colors and you don't see any texture here. And in this one all you see is texture and not color. Okay, all right, so far this is where we have breezed. Now from here it's very simple, but also the next step which I'm going to do is you need a lot of practice. It's not going to happen overnight. So I'm just telling you that with practice definitely you'll be able to achieve this kind of this result. But don't feel bad if you will not be able to uh, create something what I'm creating right now in first go. Okay, all right, so in brush you will see when you long press on your brush palette, you will see mixer brush. Okay, I've kept it separate because I use it a lot. So I have kept it separate, but for you, if you're using it for the first time, you will find it here. Okay, I'm going to select this mixer brush. Now, when I'm opening it, I have both of these will be checked in. Okay, you have to check this out and just check the one which is on right. Okay, it's very very important. Okay, and these are the values which I work with, mostly everything 100%. But uh, till the time you maybe are not used to it or initial time, you can definitely work it on maybe slightly lower values. Okay, now what we are going to do, I'll just quickly open a new file. Okay, and I'll show you what exactly this mixer brush does. Okay, so again, I'll just change to my normal brush. I'm just gonna pick two colors. One is, let's say this, and I'm going to paint, and I will take another color. I'm going to paint this. Now, when I select mixer brush, if I move this brush here, nothing is gonna happen. If I move this brush here, nothing is gonna happen. But if I move it like this, it's gonna start mixing these two colors together. Okay, now I can definitely decide how far I can take this color or how far I can take this color. Okay, this is a very basic uh, use of mixer color. Okay, and if I keep rubbing it, I will reach to a level where it will be very difficult to understand uh, which color basically is where. Okay, so it will be mixed properly. Okay, so these three techniques we will be using and working on working with mixer color. Okay, all right, so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to turn this texture layer off, and then I see my color layer. I'm going to select that and I'm going to use this mixer tool which I have, and I'm going to start painting the way I painted on that uh, uh, the another file which I showed you, and I'm going to start mixing these colors. Like you see this uh, differences in the color, I'm going to start mixing that. Okay, what I'll do is I'll turn this on and I will show you what exactly happened. So it was like this and we mixed it and we made it pretty much even. Okay, so but when I'm doing this, my texture is exactly same. There is nothing has changed in my texture, and that's really interesting. That is why we're using this mixer brush tool. So my image will not look like completely plastic. Okay, now I see this very nice highlight going on the nose, so I'm going to maintain that. And as we discussed in the beginning, I didn't like this color, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this color from here and I'm going to mix it. Okay, and I will kind of get rid of that color. Okay, I see this little dark or dark under eyes here, and then I'm just going to take care of that. I'm going to get rid of that. And whatever I'm seeing, whatever darker or lighter color differences, I'm just going to mix it so that it will not look uneven. That's the whole idea. We have to mix it such a way that it will not look uneven. But now while doing it, you have to remember one thing, that if you do it wrong, that you are going to change the molding of your image. For example, now when I was working with nose, I use my brush from here till here. Okay, when I was working on this side of the nose, I took my brush from here to here. But if I take it like this, and I'm going to spoil the entire thing in the image, as you can see it here. So I have to be very, very careful. Okay, I'll just show you before and after what exactly we did. So we worked on this part, we worked a little bit on uh, this area here. Okay, and you can also work with this particular layer on. Okay, but I prefer if you keep this off initially, it will be much better, so that you will get an idea what exactly you're doing. Now this is a little contouring which is there, and I will try to maintain that. I will not mix it. uh, then I see this is this patch here, and I'll try to mix this. And there is nothing wrong. I mean, if you make mistakes, you can always go back. I know it might be irritating in the beginning, but that's how you're going to learn. It's not going to happen. Again, I'm mentioning that it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time. It looks very easy, but when you will actually work on it, you will realize that, okay, it needs some patience and it needs some practice. But once you are good with this, trust me, your images will look stunning, and this will look much better than any of the ready-made softwares for skin retouching are there to work on. Okay, so far we have worked on this. Okay, now I'm going to move here and I'm going to do some changes here on this part. So this was pretty much bright. What I'm doing is I'm just shifting a little bit of this color from here to here. Also, we spoke about this, that this looks patchy, so I'm going to mix this red and try to make it a little smoother. Okay, so now first part is done. That is, bringing these colors together so that it will not look uh, patchy. Okay, so let's just quickly see our before and after. Okay, it was like this and we changed it like this. Okay, I'm sure all of you can see certain difference. It was like this, we changed it like this. Okay, now next part is, now we are going to work on the texture layer. Okay, because there are certain texture which we need to work on. Okay, so for that I'm going to take spot healing brush, and I have to uncheck this sample all layers, because we are going to use or work on only this particular layer. And I'm just gonna zoom a little more in this image and just gonna clean these certain patches. Okay, maybe I'll get rid of these lines. So now whenever you use this particular brush or patch tool or anything, you might have noticed that you're spoiling the colors also of the image. When you're doing this, now we are working only on the texture, and color we are not touching it. So it's gonna be very, very easy to work on. It's not gonna change or alter your colors. So I'm going to, like this, just work on these areas where I don't like the. Okay, so for now, for demo purpose, I think this is pretty decent, and I made a mistake there, and I think we can definitely move to the next step. Now, again, I will show you before and after. Okay, so this is how it was, and this is how we made it. Okay, pretty quick, pretty easy. I don't think there is very uh, difficult process. So entire this frequency separation, once you understand, once you remember these this process, it's very easy, and you can just make an action and save it and just use that action uh, again and again. So for example, I will quickly show you. I have this action made. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this, and so I have this image, I have this action made here. I just press play. It just stops to ask me what is the radius I want. I select 10, and it's done. I have these two different layers here. Okay, so I don't have to go all these steps at all. It's very easy. So it's pretty easy to reach to this level. Now we have reached here. Okay, next is, I don't like this, the hairline or this shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge all of this together. Okay, and I'm going to go to liquify. I'll just zoom in the image. I'm just sorry. I'm going to select this particular tool, and just I'm just gonna make this clean. A lot of people, they forget to work on the hairline. It does make a huge difference. Maybe if you don't notice it, then maybe you will not understand this, but we will see before and after, and you'll realize that yeah, it actually is improving the image, the way it looks. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so I'll just quickly show you before and after for this, and see, I mean, it's a very small correction, but definitely looks much interesting and better. Okay, all right, so now next is burning and dodging. Okay, before I burn and dodge, I'm going to show you something which is uh, the basic fundamental of burning and dodging, what exactly we achieve and or what exactly we do with burning and dodging. I'm just going to open one more uh, one more file. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle here. Okay, all right. I will fill this circle with a color. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, now this looks like a very basic one-dimensional image. It's just plain circle. There's no dimension there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do something to this image, and you will see what exactly is happening. Okay, and I will just take a little bit of white and, you know, okay, and immediately you can see that, you know, there is some dimension which we created by doing this. So this was a very flat image, and then we created certain dimensions. So this is what exactly we are going to do with burning and dodging. Okay, our image, it has definitely has certain dimensions, because we are not taking a image of something which is flat. We are taking something image of a subject which has molding of its own. We are just going to improve that molding. Okay, we are just going to enhance that molding, and for that we are going to use burn and dodge. Now, to burning and dodging, what the steps which we have to do is I have to create a empty layer. Okay, to go here, edit, fill that layer with 50% of gray. Okay, and it's going to look like this, and change the opacity to overlay. Now 50% gray for this, because we are shifting entire thing in basically midtones. We are working on midtones. Okay, and I'm just going to take dodge tool. Okay, I'm keeping it on midtones because we're working actually on 50% gray. Okay, and I'm just going to brighten certain areas so that the molding, as I said, will improve in the picture. A little bit eyes, and then I can see some highlights here which went off when I was working on the skin. I can improve this little bit. I can improve here. Okay, this part I can increase a little bit of the light which is on the lips. This part here. Okay, and exactly same way I can take a burn tool and also darken certain areas. So I can work on the eyebrows, eyelashes. Okay, and maybe this contouring, I can make it slightly darker below the lips so that, you know, there's more roundness to the lips. And again, I'll go to this and just improve this molding here. I'll go to burn tool again and give a little better shape to the nose. Okay, and rest it's pretty much decent. I'll just make this slightly darker, not much. Okay, and let's quickly see our before and after. Okay, so there is again very quick change, but you can see like our image is looking much better. Again, this also needs some practice, otherwise it looks like there are some patches and spots and stuff like that. So even I make that mistake till now, but it's okay. I mean, you can always redo it. You can just delete this layer and make it again and do it, and then it's not going to take a lot of time. So just quickly dodge this area of the hand also. Okay, there's a nice highlight there. All right, so this is done. Now I'm going to merge this all together. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to improve the molding of this particular picture. Now, what the basically idea behind the molding is, when we when we taking a picture of, or when we are taking a portrait, let's say portrait of this person, with our eyes we can see that it's in 3 dimension, and the moment we take a picture, we convert that entire thing in 2 dimension, and we lose that 1 dimension of depth. Okay, and that can be, I'm not saying we can bring it back, but what I'm trying to say is we can increase the molding so it will look pretty much the way it looks to our eye. Okay, now to that, what I'm going to do is I have merged all of this together, like all the changes which I have done. Okay, I'm going to desaturate this image. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter other, and I'm going to high pass. Okay, with high pass I'm going to use radius 100. Okay, and I'm going to press OK. I know it looks very non-realistic, but I'm going to change the blending mode to overlay. Now, this was how our image was, and this is how we made it. But this is too much because it looks like it's a little fake. So what we are going to do is we're going to bring this opacity to 0 and slightly start increasing it and stop somewhere at around 30%. Okay. And as you can see, if I zoom in, you can see the molding of the image is improved. Also, in the beginning, we changed that, or we reduced the saturation of the image. Sorry, the contrast of the image. So we are bringing that lost contrast also back, as you can see. Okay. Now let's improve the saturation of our image. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to vibrance. Okay. And I'm increasing vibrance a little bit. Okay. And I'm slightly increasing the saturation. So why the difference, major difference between vibrance and saturation is vibrance will understand how the color pigmentations or colors are and increase only dull shades more, and shades which are already saturated or vibrant, it will keep it as it is. Okay. In saturation, it will increase any and every color with the scale you're increasing it. It will, so its vibrance is basically a smarter way of working with the color. Okay, so now I have increased that background and this red, which we were thinking that it is gone dull. Now the last part, which is one of my favorite parts in image retouching, because it's very interesting and you can do a lot of things with this and decide the final look. That is the color grading of the image, and I use selective colors for that. Okay, now selective colors is very interesting and very easy to understand. It's basically we have these colors here. Okay, red, yellow, green, cyan, blue, magenta. So we can, what we can do is we can alter these colors in the picture. For example, when I select red, wherever there is red in this picture, that red will get altered. For example, I'm selecting red and I'm increasing cyan. Okay, so wherever there is red in the picture, in the skin, in the dress, in this light, the background, the cyan will increase. Okay, when I'm reducing cyan, red is going to increase. Okay, so this is one thing. Now white, neutrals, and black, basically these three is white is going to work with white. I mean, it will alter your high kind of like highlights. Neutrals will alter your uh, midtones, and blacks will work with your shadows. Okay, so for example, if I select neutrals and if I increase yellow, so in my midtones I'll be able to increase yellow. Okay, or reduce yellow. Okay, so it's a very interesting way of working on an image. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select red, and this image is more towards warmer and red and yellow side. So I'm going to reduce cyan so that my red will be even more. Going to increase yellow a little bit. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight to whites, and I'm going to reduce my blacks. Okay, when I reduce my blacks, the highlights of the image gets improved. Okay, as you can see, or I'm just going to move this slider. Okay, you can see the highlights, they're getting improved. Okay, I don't want to change any colors in the highlights, but if you want, you can. Okay, so I'll just show you how you can change the colors in your highlights. So in the whites, maybe a little bit changes you can see. Okay, so that way, but I'm not going to change any colors in the highlight. I'm just going to increase the highlights by reducing the black color in white. Okay, I'm going to change the color of the shadows in the picture a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to increase slight cyan, and I'm also going to increase little bit of reduce little bit of yellow, so it will increase, or it will add little blue in the picture. Okay, midtones I'm not going to do much changes. I'll slightly increase red. Okay, and let's see the changes. Okay, there are no huge changes, but as you can see, certain things are improved. Okay, so I think guys, that's pretty much it. And there is one last stop which I always do is just okay, that I go to filter and I go to camera raw filter gap. Okay, here maybe if I think that now I have a scope, I will increase little bit of clarity again. I will increase little bit of contrast, not a lot, just little bit. And this is very interesting. I really like adding little bit of grains at the end. Okay, the reason is it will improve the texture of the image and it will remove that very digital feel of the image. So for this, maybe I'll go 25, 20 radius and size 50. So this is how much, what is the size of the grains and what is the roughness of the grain and how many grains per pixel will be there. Okay, so I'm just gonna press OK and I'm going to show you the overall final output. Okay, so this is like after adding grains. Okay, so it's not a lot of grains, but you can see that okay, now this very digital film feel of the picture is gone a little more towards film, but not exactly. And let's put all of this in a folder and see the before and after. Right, again. Okay, so this is how we open the file. Okay, and this is what we made. Okay, not a huge difference, but pretty much same to be honest, but it's less slight improvements. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, and I'm just gonna save this. Maybe what we can do is we can also compare it with the previous file which I did. I'm sure there will be certain changes. Just 1 minute. Okay, this one was a little lighter and more intense, but anyways, it's another version you are getting to see it here. Okay, so yeah, I mean, again, one person can create slightly different version. Every time you will do it, maybe there will be reversion. That reminds me to tell you that a lot of time maybe you will be working on certain project where you need same colors everywhere, like particularly this last step. So what you can do actually do is you can just copy it by selecting that layer and pressing Control C or Command C, and just you can go on any other file and just you can just paste it like Command V or Control V, and this entire setting is there. So you don't have to do it exactly same. You don't have to remember these numbers and do exactly same. All right, so this is the first file. I'm gonna save it again. Okay, I'm going to close these now. Shishir? Shishir?
Sorry, Sachin, I was on mute.
No problem. No problem. So, do you think that we have any questions which we can take it now? I mean, I'm going to show another file, uh, but if there is any question which were particularly related to this one, do you want to take those now?
Sachin, as of now, we don't have any questions, but I
Okay.
would like to send out a reminder to all my students to, all the attendees out there. If there are any questions, now is the time you can just type in. If not, you can probably write it down and probably ask it, or maybe later as well. So, Sachin, I guess if
Yeah,
you
we can go to next one, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
sure.
perfect, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to open this another file here. Okay, so I have this one, and there's certain work I already have done. I'll just show you how it is in default. So this is how it was, and then I did some corrections and made it like this. Okay, I'm going to open this image. Okay, so I'll also show you the before and after version of this particular file. Okay, so this is how it was, and this is how we can make it from this image. Okay, it's pretty like pretty dramatic difference, but again, there's no huge differences which we have to do. Okay, so let's start. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to crop this image a little bit. Okay, and again, I'm going to work on this frequency separation the way I explained. So again, for this one, I will go with radius 10, very pretty similar size of the image, and I think that this can work pretty decent. Perfect. Now, what I'm going to do is so this time I use my action, okay, because all the steps, they are exactly same. So I don't want to spend the exact same time doing the same thing. I'm going to take my mixer brush now, and I'll just work on this highlights. Okay, before that, maybe what we can do is we will just make a note what all things we need to do. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my normal brush, and so as you can see that there are these different color pigmentations here. Okay, this is one, and this is another one. Okay, then certain changes here. Okay, and then this highlight of the nose, it's slightly broken. This part, we need to work on that. Eyes are completely dull. Eyes are completely gone. Okay, so I purposely taken an image which actually was not a final image. It's actually something which is like a rejected image because of a lot of reasons. But I've particularly taken this so that I can uh, show you how things can be converted or turned. Now, another thing is, you can see this patch here. So we can work on that. A little bit correction on the makeup. Okay. You can see this, the lips on one side and the other side, it's slightly different. So maybe we can do certain corrections there. Okay. And even also this sorry. So even there is this certain patches on the back which we definitely work on. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's start working on it. So I'll delete this layer now. I don't need it anymore. I'm just gonna take my brush, mixer brush again, and start mixing these colors which are not so I'm just bringing them, I'm just merging them together, so there is no difference in the pigmentation or very hard boundaries, and it's pretty even. I wouldn't call it even, but pretty in smooth gradation and not like uneven gradation. All right, and if you see now, this is how it was, and this is how we made it. Okay. Now here, from here till here, maybe we need to improve this. So what I'm doing is I'm just bringing this white and shifting it here. Okay. So for a straight line, what I'm doing is I'm just clicking here and pressing shift and clicking to another end, and you can see that it's giving me a pretty straight line. Okay. Again, I'm going to make this smoother. I'm going to mix these colors also here. So I'm going to maintain this, very strong jawline, which not jawline, sorry, uh, contouring, which is there on the face. I'm going to maintain that. And here I'm quickly just mixing all these colors. Okay. In a quick minute, I will show you before and after, and you will see the difference which we have made to the image. Again, same this contouring, I'm keeping it as it is. Okay, right here, maybe I'll bring some gradation in the makeup. Okay. Be very careful when you do something with the makeup, because maybe you will do something and that's not the right thing to do with the makeup. So you need to have certain information about makeup also, whether you should be doing that or no. So be careful when you're changing anything particular in makeup artist work. Okay, so this is how it was. Okay, pretty there was a lot of pigmentation in the skin, like different colors, and very quickly we changed it to this. It is not looking plastic. If I zoom in, you can see all the texture which is there of the skin. It's just that we improved the quality of the skin basically. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly work on this back also. A lot of time this happens that we are so uh, engaged in the face, we forget these uh, part, maybe back or arm or neck, to work on. But make sure you don't do that, because then after certain layers maybe you'll have to start doing everything again. Now once this is done, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on this particular layer, which is my texture layer. I have not named it this time, but I'm sure that those who are following, I'm sure you know that this is our color layer. Okay, all the colors, and this is our texture layer, only texture. So now I'm going to work on the texture layer. And just I will take care of certain uneven texture. So whatever these freckles which we see, I'm going to keep it as it is. Okay, I'm just going to try and make uneven things even. All right, so yeah, this is pretty much done. I think I made a little mistake here, close to the eye. All right, okay. Now, while doing this, while working on this, I realized one thing. There is a one very important thing which is bothering me a lot. If you see the color of the face and color of the back is absolutely different. I mean, there are these two colors. So either we match this one and like to this, or vice versa. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase a little bit of red here. Okay, so for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to selective colors and just increase a red and go to red and increase little bit red here. I'm not paying attention here. Okay, I'm paying attention. Okay, I reduced cyan, so it increased red and red. The reason I selected red color here because there's a lot of red in the skin. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly use black mask and only paint this area. I hope that you guys know about masking. It's pretty simple thing that you can just apply certain result to particular area of the image and not everywhere. Okay, so yeah, now it's pretty much similar. It's not yellowish. Okay, what I can do is I can just maybe a little bit fine tune this further, reduce a little bit yellow. Okay, yeah, now I can say that okay, this is pretty similar. All right, now the next stage is burn and dodge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create this new layer, edit fill 50% gray, and I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to make this overlay. Okay, now again the way we did some burning and dodging. Now it's very important that where you're dodging, where you're burning. Sometimes it can look patchy, sometimes it may look fake. Okay, so I'm taking this exposure at 15. When I started working with burn and dodge earlier, I used to take exposure just maybe 5% or 7% because I was not very good at it. Now after certain practice, maybe I keep it at 15%. So make sure you use it wisely. I mean the radius, because you don't want to make some drastic changes in the picture. Okay, so I increase this one. I increase these cheekbones, and I little bit eyes, and now I'm going to increase some light in the eyes. Okay, I'm going to show you something particularly for eyes, because in this particular picture, if you see the eyes, they look pretty dead, and it may happen that you come across certain image and it's really nice and everything, but the eyes, they are dead and thus spoiling the image. So to save that particular thing, there are a few things which you can do. Okay, I'll quickly finish this burning and dodging. I'm gonna make these eyebrows even darker. Okay, all right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on only eyes. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I think this catch light is missing. Okay, so I'm going to add some catch light. To add some catch light, I'm going to select normal brush. Okay, I'm going to select white color here, as you can see. I'm going to make this brush very hard like this. Okay, and on a new layer, I'm just going to make this brush very small, soft, and just give it a small dot here. Okay, I'll make another layer and I will give same dot of the same size. Okay, then another thing I will do is maybe I'll increase the size. I'll go on the layer below and give another dot, and one more here. Okay, Looks pretty much fake, I know. Okay, so what we are going to do is we have this, sorry, made a mistake. So the last one I have to do it on this layer. So I have one for this eye, another one for this eye, because if I need to change the position of these highlights a little bit, so I can do that. I'm going to reduce the opacity, maybe keep it something like 60% for this. Yeah, same for this one. Yeah, okay. And all right, so far fine enough. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this slightly inside. Okay, yeah, considering the position of the eye, I'm gonna slightly move this, and that's the reason I had made it on separate layers. So now another thing which I'm going to do is I'll just merge these two so that now both of them they are on same layer. I'm going to do something very interesting, and you don't have to do it on most like all the images, but sometimes you need to do this. Okay, very rarely I do it. I'm going to increase the hardness of the brush completely, and I'm going to make it a very soft brush. I'm going to zoom in the image. Okay, and when I do that on a new layer, I'm just going to brush size even smaller. I'm just going to make these lines. Okay, it can be done with the shift also, like you click here and press shift, here press shift. Okay guys, you need to understand this now. I'm doing this, I'm getting to do all of this, I need to do all of this rather, because I made a mistake while shooting. Okay, and that's a very important thing. If you don't do mistake while shooting, you will not have to spend so much of time editing the image. Okay, I'm going to go to filter blur. Okay, I'll go to Gaussian blur and maybe give a little bit of blur, something like this is fine, I guess 3.5, and reduce this, the intensity of this. Okay, so now I have certain depth in the eye. I can decide how much I want to keep it. Okay, I don't want to make it look very fake. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to move it for the another eye. Okay, and just make sure that it's fitting right in. Yeah. So here, if I'll just put all these three in a folder, and you can definitely see that the actually eyes were pretty blank. Okay, and now you can see that there is some liveliness in the eye. All right, and now this white part maybe I would like to increase. So what I'm going to do is, sorry, I'm going to do is I'm going to go to curves, make this whiter, change the blending mode to luminosity. Okay, so that the changes in the color because of increasing brightness will go off, and this because of the luminosity. And I'm going to take a very soft brush. Okay, very less opacity also, and increase my brush size and just paint a little bit of this. Okay, all right, so far this is where we stand. Okay, now the next step is, again, we will give the high pass to increase the molding of this. I'm just going to use the action which I have is exactly same like new layer, and then desaturating image, going to high pass, giving it 100 pixels, and then pressing OK, and going opacity all the way to 0, and then I'm just increasing it. Okay. Now to this image, another thing which I'm going to do is I'm going to image, and I'm going to play a little bit with shadow and highlights. Okay, the moment I go in shadow and highlights, you will see the previous settings of certain image, which I did. So I don't want that. I'm just going to change a little bit of it. All right, I think this is interesting. Maybe I can make it slightly darker. Yeah. So this is how the image was, and this is how I had made. So now you can see that there is more definition in the uh, hair also. The overall dynamic range of the image has improved. Okay. Now next is I'm going to go to selective colors. I'll first go to white, and I'm going to reduce some of the blacks. Okay. So that my highlights of the image gets improved. Okay. Little bit black I will increase in the midtones, and I'll go to black and I'll slightly change the colors of the black. Maybe I can go towards green. I can make it red also, but I would like to go towards green for this to create some drama in the picture. Okay. And maybe I'll increase a little bit yellow in midtones. So very small changes, but as you can see, that image has started looking absolutely different. Okay. Now I will show you a few other tricks which can be done in the picture. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'll go to black and white. Okay, just pay attention, and I'll go to blue filter, and it makes the entire image completely black. And I will slightly, reduce the opacity and keep very less opacity. When we do that, what happens is you get this very interesting shine on the highlights, as you can see. Okay, so if you want, you can definitely do that, but right now I'm keeping it like this, and I think this is pretty much it. I really like this final output, and earlier it was something like this. Yeah, there was a little more shine which I worked on, uh, so definitely we can work on that shine more. I'll just go do my final step. Okay, I'll increase highlight here for some shine, but I'm not going to give that much. Okay, and this is my favorite. I'll just, maybe this time I'll go to 25 and 50 and press OK. Okay, so this is, now what I'll do is I will just quickly show you the layers of this also, so that you will get an idea that there are a couple of more things which I had done for this particular file, and you will get an idea what I exactly did. So I'm just showing you from the beginning. This is how it was when I opened, and this is the frequency separation. This is, I changed this color. Okay, little bit liquify I worked on. Okay, now this is the burn and dodge which I did a little extra, as you can see in this one. This is working on the eyes. Okay, this I improved the makeup. This is the molding with high pass, and this is, so this is highlights and shadows which I worked on. Basically, I did some cropping in the pictures, as you can see, some color grading, and yeah, this is like a very high intensity sharpness on this one, the last one. So if you want to do some sharpness in the picture after this, I mean, if you want even more crispier, what you can do is you can just exactly repeat this step for high pass. Just make it black and white. Go to other, use high pass, but instead of 100, maybe you just give 5 and you will see all the texture. And after that, just give overlay and you will get a very high sharpness to the picture. I mean, do it only if it is required. Too much sharpness also doesn't look very nice. But yeah, as you can see, the image is pretty sharp. Highlights also look very interesting. Yeah, but I'll not use it maybe this much. Maybe I'll go to something like just 30% of it. Okay, so this is pretty much it. Um, and let's quickly see the before and after for this entire thing. Okay, so this is how we started and this is what we did. Okay, pretty decent result. Okay, I mean, this starts looking very not so good image the moment you start looking at it, but it's fine. I mean, even this skin, even though it has pigmentation, it's not something bad. I will not call it bad, but this is another step to it. So you have to decide where and how exactly you want your image to be. Maybe you can definitely reduce this entire thing also by reducing the overall opacity of this. Okay, if you want certain things to bring back, uh, what you can do is you can just, there's not a step to go back, but what you can do is to bring slight details on the skin. If you want, what you can do is you can just apply a filter and apply a mask and just bring certain details back, not a lot of them, with very less intensity of brush. So what I have done is got some details back from the main image. Okay, it's not required, but if you think that this is too artificial, you definitely have that choice to do. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this and save this file. Do we have any questions? Shishir?
None as of now. Sachin.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if you are, let us know when you're done. I might have a couple of generic questions there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, let me know. I mean, I can take some questions now.
Yeah. So we do have one question. Let me, it's in the chat section though. Let me just read out and see how to frame that for you.
Okay.
Just a second. I'm really sorry for this. Okay, I don't see that question anymore. Sahil, there's a question from Sahil, but Sahil's saying it limits to reduce the contrast in camera raw.
Yeah. So understand this contrast which we reduced. I'll just open this file again and just tell you it's not a necessary step to reduce a contrast. Like here in this particular file, I did not reduce the contrast because everything else is in, pretty much in the dynamic range. Okay, so what you can do is you can slightly reduce it so that everything is in pretty decent shape, pretty decent zone, or pretty decent uh, range of highlights and shadows, I would say. But you cannot completely all the way go back. It's going to, make your image, uh, this quality of the image is going to get spoiled. So there's no particular range as such that I can tell you, okay, you can go till this number, but just be practical and see uh, how much you have to reduce. Understand the idea of that is just bringing certain things in a range. For example, I will just quickly show you that. Maybe I'll open the previous image. I'll open this image and quickly show you what I mean by the range. Okay, so when you see this, you can see this particular part is blown out. Okay, so in this, if I completely go here, I start seeing all the details here. Okay, but then I'm spoiling entire image. Okay, so I cannot go, for sake of it, I cannot go or reduce that much of contrast. But maybe I can reduce it a little bit so that I can improve it by some other tools also. Like for example, I reduced it and then I reduced the highlights, I reduced a little bit of shadows also, and now I have everything in the range. So it's just gonna work it as a little help for you to bring the image in the uh, decent range of highlights and shadows. Okay, it's gonna act like, or it's gonna make image little more of more dynamic, or increase the dynamic range of the image, and which you can definitely improve later on. Okay, so it'll just helpful. Again, this is while working, I figure out that okay, it's helping. I'm not saying that I'm saying this is the best way to do it, but it works very well whenever I work on the images. Okay,
Yeah,
is there
thanks.
anything else?
Thanks, Sachin. I think we are lining up the questions just for the attendees, just to let them know we are up and open for Q&A. So, Sachin, there's another question which is: does all portrait photos require high-end retouch?
No, no, absolutely not. There are certain portraits. It's better if you don't uh, retouch. Okay, it's absolutely uh, fine not to work on that. But if I would say this is particularly, we are talking about commercial portraits, and if it is something related to commercial, there are or beauty portraits, this is what you should be able to do it. Now, whatever I've shown, it has, I have shown you what all you can do. Okay, it's not necessary that you have to do exact same thing or all the things for each and every image. Okay, you have to figure out that how much you need to do. There will be maybe one image where you just have to um, use that high pass to increase the molding of the picture and nothing else. Okay, they can, or there can be a picture where you just need to use burning and dodging and nothing else. So yeah, it really depends on the image to image. All in all, I have shown you that okay, in these two images what exactly you can do, and where exactly uh, you can take the image. uh, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yes, anything else?
Yeah, there's another question. This is more related to Photoshop, not very specific to portrait and fashion, but I can put it as what would be your approach for local dodge and burn? There's the dodging and burning. What would your approach be? How would you like to use it? Maybe that's the question.
Okay, so I think I pretty I mean, how I exactly do it, I think I explained it uh, uh, on a separate file also, what exactly I do it with dodge and burn. Maybe I will explain that again quickly. Okay, I'll show it on the screen. So by dodge and burn, what I mean is it's very important to understand this idea behind dodge and burn, which is improving the molding of the image. Okay, and there with dodge and burn, definitely you can do certain correction, but major role dodge and burn is going to play is improving the molding of the image. So what I'm going to show this is, I already showed, but maybe if any of you have joined after this, I'm showing this again. So this is let's say a red color circle. Okay, and it doesn't have any dimensions, and then I will just use black and white colors. Okay, which is exactly what we uh, do with dodging and burning. So I'm just gonna use these colors and I'm gonna quickly show what can be achieved with dodge and burn. Okay, so I'm just gonna make this darker, and let's say do certain dodging here, and I did this burning here, and with this, from this red we created this. Okay, now maybe I will just quickly reduce the opacity so you can see certain dimensions happening now. So this is what exactly the approach of burning and dodging in any image, that you can enhance that dimensions which are there in the picture.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Susan. It's mostly gives us as photographers to, add in a lot more dimension
Yeah,
that
yeah.
can be done.
Because if you actually compare your image, digital image with something which is shot with film, what happens is the overall molding of the image is much lesser than what one used to get on film. So by these kind of tricks, we definitely can increase the molding uh, on dimensions in
Yeah,
the image.
agree. Sachin, there's another technical question, I
Okay.
guess. Sir, you reduced white from selective colors. So you reduce white from selective colors. But if we do it with curves, and after that, if we try to blend it, like after that, can we try to blend it? Like the question is a little confusing. Sahil, I would like you to reframe the question if
Yeah,
possible.
if you can rephrase the exactly, I am not able to get it. But anyways, I will just quickly explain what exactly reducing black from white is. So let's
Yeah.
say there are you have these shadow areas, or you let's say we are talking about whites. Okay, so we have these highlight areas or white areas in the picture. The moment we reduce black color from that, the lighter areas or white areas, those become even more lighter, and that enhances the uh, highlights, and only that area, not it will not make any difference in any other part of the picture. So for example, gray areas and black areas, so midtones and shadows will be exactly same, and anything where the white is, or lighter areas or highlighted areas, those will be even more lighter. If we increase black, those will be uh, darker. If maybe I can, even on this file, I can quickly show. If I just go select white and increase black, so you can see the highlight areas are changing. And if I reduce black, highlight areas are getting even more lighter. Okay, so yeah, see, it was like this, I made it like that. Exactly. For if I increase the black, it's gonna be darker. Okay, something like this. And same for black, I can make this darker or this lighter. And the red here plays as a mid-tones. So I'll just quickly explain what exactly happens. Okay, so this is how it changes in color. So I don't understand what exactly you're comparing with selective colors to curves, but this is at least about selective color. If you can rephrase your question, maybe I'll be able to answer in a better way.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Sachin. Sachin, I have a question myself.
Yeah,
This is for a much more lordy audience who are present today, right? It's more of a generic thing. So when we talk about retouching, right, or image processing, so we know that it's very important out there. You have been in the industry for several years. You know,
yeah,
you've been editing your own images.
yeah.
So to the freshers or to somebody who is starting out, right, knowing photography along with it, how important do you think as Photoshop, and how do you think it helps in portraying the right image that you want to the audience?
So as I mentioned in the beginning, I will say that again. Uh, there are two different aspects when it comes to understanding the photo retouching by a photographer. One is it's your image which you have created, and you're the best person to understand what is the end result, where or how you want to uh, present that particular image. So even if somebody else is working on that image, if you understand and if you have knowledge of certain knowledge of Photoshop, you will be able to guide and create something which what exactly you want. Okay, that is one very important thing going forward, because whoever is starting right now, eventually they will be at certain position and level, and they might not need to work on their image, but this particular thing in throughout of their photography career, it will be very important. Even they have a team of retouching artists for themselves, they will be able to guide them that what exactly they want from that particular image. Okay, even if they're not using Photoshop by themselves, there will be certain other people to whom they will be guiding. So that is one. Another thing is initial days. uh, we all know that, okay, when you're starting any business, it's very important that uh, if you can save any kind of money from any point of time, or any possible way. So this is a very good way to save money in initial days. One very important thing is, let's say I'll just see this or give an example in numbers. Let's say if you're getting uh, a 1000 rupees for one particular image, and you have to spend, let's say, 300 rupees or 500 rupees, 300 rupees, let's say, for editing. At the end you're making 700 rupees. But if that 300 rupee work, if you do it by yourself, then you're definitely saving that money in initial days, and that can be used for various other things, and for overall, it will increase your earning. Now I've taken a very small number here, 1000 rupee, but when this number goes a little bigger, and even retouching amount which you will be spending goes a little bigger, and then you end up paying a lot more money in initial days, where you actually can save it by knowing very few techniques. So both the images which I worked on today, I just used 3 to 4 steps. And most of the images, if you know these 3 to 4 steps, you definitely can create a very interesting output. 99% of my images, they are, whether they are edited by me or somebody else, very similar steps are done. Okay, very similar steps are used. So and I get a very decent result. So just, even if I'm not saying that you need to know Photoshop in extreme detail or anything like that. Just know what exactly you have to do, and even if that much you can do it, I think it will be really good for uh, photographers, at least in the beginning. Like I said, knowing is much easier or better, so that you can guide other people who are working for you. uh, and that will also definitely help you in long run. Yeah,
I
so
I
that's,
agree, Sachin.
yeah.
I definitely agree. And we also have Mansi online.
Okay.
Mansi, do you have any questions to Sachin? Any inputs?
I think it's going great, Shishir and Sachin. I suppose you have one more image, right, Sachin?
Yeah. I've taken a stop just for some questions, and I can, if the questions are done, then maybe I can carry on with that one.
Sure.
Yeah, please do. I think you can carry on with the last one, and then we can have another round of Q&A and then close it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
All right. So I'll start with the next image, which is the final image which I have. Okay. And yeah. So before I start, I would like to show the before and after for this image also. Okay. There are some variations which I've done. Okay. And I have converted into black and white also. Now this is after processing it from camera raw. Okay. But the actual image which was shot was this. Okay. Again, I have purposely selected an image which is like which is a rejected image where the flash was not fired well, or there was some difference in white balance and everything. So even here you can pretty clearly see the before and after uh, in the image. So this is how the image was from the camera, and this is what created. Okay, so let's start working on the image. um, I'll open this. I already have here. I'll just quickly close this and open the raw file. Okay, so here I have this slide changes which I've done. Okay, now these slide changes is one is white balance. Okay, so this is how it was, and this is what I changed it. I made it little cooler, the image. I have reduced the contrast, as you can see here. Okay, so I'll just quickly show you even after reducing color temperature, this image was like this, and I increased the exposure, I reduced the contrast, and increase the highlights. Okay, that's pretty much is little bit clarity and everything. And as you know that, okay, I have added these grains. Okay, so I can also add this at the beginning. Okay, it's better to add at the end once everything is done. Okay, but let's work on the image with this grains in the beginning. Let's see what difference it makes. Okay, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I will open this image now. Okay, so now this is again a very photographer's choice, that whether you want to keep this composition as it is or whether you want to change it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this composition of this image. Okay, I'm just gonna make it a little tighter so that there is more attention on the face, and you know more attention going towards the eye, and uh, it's not getting scattered anywhere else. Okay, so this is how I want this to be. I just flatten this image. Okay, now there is something which I do. If you have noticed, that what I do is when I'm just going to reduce a little bit of composition, I don't crop the image. Okay, I increase the size of the image. Okay, and then I just flatten it. So what happens is the height and width of the image, or the pixel count, remains the same, and instead of getting a smaller file, I get exact same uh, file. And when you're just doing slight changes, it's absolutely fine, and you can maintain the file size because of that. Otherwise, if you just crop it, you make image smaller, and you don't want that. um, of course, that's not something which is recommended, that you shoot and then crop it every time. It's better if you shoot it in a pretty decent uh, composition which you want. Okay, so the first thing which is bothering me a lot in this one is the shape of this ear. Okay, and I'm just gonna work on that. I'm just gonna push this slightly inside. Okay, I'm just gonna make this shape of the hair also pretty much. Slightly take this shoulder here, so the neck looks longer. Okay, rest everything is fine. She has really amazing face cut and everything, so I don't think there's any changes which are needed. Okay, so this is how it was, and this is what we did. Very slight nominal changes, but you can see just by when I worked on this area, like uh, the neck starts looking much nicer, and it has added a lot more into the image. Okay, now I'm just gonna flatten it, and I'm gonna use this frequency separation. Now quickly I will use step by step, so in case if any of you have missed it or forgotten, then you will understand again. So I'm just gonna create 2 layers. Okay, and I use keyboard shortcuts for this. I press Command and J. If you really want to duplicate it, you can just drag this file here and it can get duplicated. Okay, I'm gonna rename these layers blur, or I'll see overrides color and texture. Okay, it's not necessary. I'm just doing it so that all of you will understand. I'm just gonna uh, turn this one off. I'm going to go to filter, noise, median. Okay. Now I'm going to increase the size so that I will get the idea. Okay. And yeah, 10 pixel looks good. Okay. Like all the texture is gone and I can see the differences in the colors, which I can definitely work on. So I'm going to keep it as 10. Okay, I'll turn this one on. I'll go to image. Okay, apply image. I'm going to select this color, subtract to 128. All of that is already there. Press OK and go to linear light. Okay, so my frequency separation is done here. I'm going to take my mixer brush, turn off the upper layer, select the layer which is down, and start mixing these colors. You know, more you will mix these and keep doing this, better you will be and less patchy your image will become. Okay, so I've been doing this maybe around 4 or 5 years now. So now I do it pretty much decent and not so patchy, but sometimes honestly I also make some mistakes, and that's fine. I mean, you can always start doing it again. Yeah, so I worked on this highlight on the nose. Then I see these eye bags here, so I'm just gonna mix those and make a pretty smooth version of this color layer, basically. But at the same time, I'm maintaining all the shapes. I'm not changing any shapes when I'm using my mixer brush tool. And when you're doing this, you can always keep this in between, turn this on and check whether you're on the right path, or maybe if you have made some mistakes. It's better to know if you have made a mistake immediately so that you know you will not waste a lot of efforts. Okay, let's quickly see the before and after. I think I did a little patchy work here. Let me just quickly fix that. Okay, I'm not gonna do any changes in these molds which he has. I really like these, the way they are. They have a very interesting character to that. Very rarely we get to see uh, molds like that. So of course, I mean, if there is a requirement, you can always take that out. What you can do is you can just mix these like this, and then it'll be gone. And then from the color layer, and then you have to like again use texture layer to work further, and then just take that out completely. Okay, but what I will do is I'll keep these because I like the way they are, but I will take it out completely from here, from the hand, so that you will get an idea how I can take that out. Okay, so what I did is I just mixed this entire thing with mixer brush, and now I'm going to take this uh, spot healing brush and work on the texture. Okay, and as you can see, if I just use this is completely gone. Okay, I don't want to take that out honestly, but yeah, I mean, if you want to, if you don't like it, maybe definitely you can take that out. So this is how our file was, and very quickly we did it like this. uh, I see a little bit, I'm not very happy with this particular area here, so I'll just merge this more. Okay, and even here also. There's one very funny way you can check your file, okay, whether you're on right track or not. What I mean, it works very well for me. Uh, Maybe you can try it, give it a try. What you can do is you can just merge this file and select it and flip horizontal. Okay, so your eyes are basically trained to look at the image, and then your eyes start adjusting it, and then a lot of time you don't see mistakes. But when you're flipping it, immediately you may notice certain mistakes in the file, and then you can start correcting it. For example, in this one I have gone out from here. I did not notice that earlier, even though I was looking at it. Yeah, so certain times your eyes, it has this habit of just ignoring certain things. So if you just quickly flip it, you will see that, and just press escape, and you can delete it and work on that particular one. So here I have messed it up. Very quickly I will just fix it. Okay, and I can actually get rid of this here also. I'm just mixing it with the background color. Okay, all right. Okay, so this is pretty much it. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase this. Sorry, I'm just going to use the burn dodge again, so that I can dodge certain areas and increase the molding of the picture, or dimension of make the dimensions better. Okay, now burn dodge again, I have a action ready. I use that, but I will show you guys what I have to do is just take empty layer, go to edit, fill, 50% gray, and overlay. Okay, you will not see that gray, but it's there, and you're working on that. Okay, I'll take the dodge. The first thing I will do it, I will make these eyes stand out. A little bit of these eye shadows, this area of the eye. Increase this lips here, and also some highlight here. There is some highlight on the forehead which I will improve. Okay, and this collarbone here, dimension on the hand. All right, so this is like dodging, and this much difference we made, and let's quickly burn certain thing. So you see this spot here, and maybe you can just darken that. Then maybe you can just darken the eyebrows. eyelashes can be given a little more definition. And a little bit lower part of the lips so that you will have better molding to it basically. Yeah, this is pretty much fine. Now the next thing which you can do is you can always, another thing which I'm not liking is you see this hairline here, that definitely can be improved. Okay, so I'm just going to liquify and I'm going to make it in one particular line. Okay, so so far this is pretty much it, and what I will do is I'll just select these and I'll turn this off, and this is how we started and this is where we are. Okay, you don't have to do much to this particular image. It looks really interesting. It's very simple image also. What I will do is I'll just give this high pass by making it desaturated and into high pass, and I'll give 100 radius high pass here. This is I'm doing to increase the molding of the image overlay, and maybe something like 20 radius, not a lot. Okay, which will increase the molding and also improve the contrast which we had reduced. Okay, now you can work on the skin, I mean the color of the skin even more. What we can do is we can just go to red. It has a good amount of red, and then we can increase or decrease red from the skin. Okay, I would like to increase it a little bit and increase yellow a bit, not a lot but little bit yellow. Reduce the black from red so the skin will look even more lighter. Okay, so this is how it was. Okay, and this is how we made the skin. Okay, so I've reduced the black from red, so my skin is looking much more even now. I've increased yellow. Okay, so it has this slight different color in the skin, and I've increased red also. Okay, now you might have seen a lot of different pictures where the skin is white or very close to white or it's almost desaturated. So what you can do is you can reduce the vibrance. Okay, you can reduce the vibrance, not a lot, maybe a little bit, and just give it a mask and paint the skin, and you can have that kind of effect for the skin. Okay, it's not completely desaturated. It has certain colors, and if you think that okay, this is still looking desaturated, you can always bring those uh, like colors back. I'm just giving you some additional ideas which you can work on. I'm doing it very roughly. Maybe you need to do it a little more careful when you actually do it. Just trying to save some time. Okay, so what I can do is I can just reduce the opacity of this layer. As you can see, I've kept it 50%, so it was like this, I made it like this, so you can definitely work on that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to camera raw again and increase contrast a little bit, increase clarity a little bit. Okay, and maybe a little bit bring it on a brighter side. Okay, and I think this is pretty much it. I don't think we need to do a lot more. Of course we can work on this hair here and stamp it and do it, but this is a basic thing which we need to do. So I'll just put everything in the group. Okay, and I'll just show you that okay, this is how we started and this is what we made from this image. Okay, pretty decent. I'll quickly show you what with the hair. What we can do is you can take a stamp tool and take an empty layer and you have to select this sample or layer and just take some hair from the other side and you can just mask that. So right now that white area is taking some attention, so you definitely can fill that up. You don't need to be like, have to be very strict when you're doing this. Like you can just do it roughly because this is pretty, this area is not very sharp. Okay, slightly out of focus because of shallow depth of field of the picture. So you can take that for your advantage and work very fast. And yeah, this is how it is. Okay, very small thing, maybe reduce opacity a little bit. Yeah, it works. Right, there's a pretty quick job and looks very interesting, improves the image. Now, I wanted to show you something which I had converted this image into black and white also. Okay, this is not like a black and white tutorial or something like that, but I would like to show you what I've done. Maybe we can plan a black and white, digital black and white webinar again. So maybe you guys can stay tuned and can definitely work on that. So this is how I had created it earlier. This is how I created now. Is that just the difference is more of the colors which which I changed. Okay, but rest pretty much the same. Sharpness is more in that picture, and yeah. So now I'm showing you the black and white of this. So what I have done is I've used a gradient map and I've used this invert. What it exactly does is, so you have this black and white here. You can simply use this. Still looks really amazing. Okay. You actually can go to blue filter. So that also gives some definition for the skin. It will make it slightly darker, but looks very interesting. So all of this, of course, you can do. But there's one more interesting way of converting into that black and white is just gradient map. Go black and white here. Only the thing which happens in this gradient map is the contrast is a little extra. So you can reduce that by going inverting that and just slightly adding this invert filter, maybe 2 or 3%. So it's not a lot of contrasting. Okay, a very nice transition of black and white. You can keep it like this also if you like that kind of contrast. But I mean, in this picture, it looks really nice. But not all the pictures it's gonna look interesting. Maybe I'll keep it just 3%. Okay, and last, if you're doing black and white, maybe you can add some more grains. I love adding grains to the picture. So maybe I'll just go 30 and 50. Maybe 30 is too much because we added it in the beginning. So I'll just add it maybe just this much. Yeah, so this is it. Like, looks interesting. Pretty much like from the film, but close to that. I won't call it similar also, but close to that. Yeah. So yeah, so I'll just make a folder for this black and white. You can see the color also. So yeah, this is the before and after which we have. All right, so all three images are done, and if we have any questions, I think we can take the questions now.
Yeah, Sachin. I think it's related to the same image that we are editing right now.
Okay.
The question is, why don't you remove the moles or the spots on the skin?
Yeah, so I mentioned that I really like because it's adding certain character, but if you want to remove it, you can see it how I did it here. I showed there were certain moles on the arm, and I reduced, like, I removed that. I can show you in this. So there are these moles and I removed it from the arm. So I think that it is a very unique, it's adding some unique character to the picture. So that's the only reason I've not removed. But if you want to remove it, if you think that it's important, then you definitely can. And how to do it, I already have shown.
I completely agree with you, Sachin. Like beauty is in one's perspective, right? You can either choose to leave it as is, or you can.
Yeah,
It
exactly,
depends
exactly.
depends
And
on.
also it also depends like where exactly you're going to use this image. Like if I've taken this as a portrait for myself, then maybe I would like to maintain that character of the uh, person by those molds. And if I'm shooting it this same person for a beauty brand, and maybe that time I will take that thing completely out. Maybe I'll work a little more carefully also on the image. For example, I have this particular patch I will get rid of, or these hair which are coming here, I'll just get rid of. Of course, I've not done to that detail, but right now, because I'm just giving the idea what exactly needs to be done. But there are a lot of things by using can be done by using same methods.
Agree. I think those are all the questions that we have from the session, Sachin.
Okay.
Unless Mansi has anything to contribute, if not, I think we had a fantastic session today so far. Mansi, do you want to add anything to the session?
Yeah, Sachin did mention about black and white retouch, and I'm sure that's gonna be another session that we can definitely plan out. Sachin, I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
how color grading is something that I have been seeing these days on Insta or on Facebook, different types of color grading. So,
Yeah.
is it possible to color grade one image in different color grades? Like
Yeah, we can do
maybe,
that. I mean, do we have time? I mean, if you want, I can maybe quickly show you also. But basically, see, understand this, that the color grading is something which is going to show your unique style. It definitely can add you can, by color grading, you can add your signature to your image. And definitely can be done in different ways. Like for example, I added a little bit of cyan in the shadows, and if I add red in the shadows, it absolutely becomes a different image. Okay, so it's very very close to what exactly your style is and how you want to show your own image. And now if we see that, on Instagram or a lot of international magazines, they have the very different ways of doing their color grades. We don't now it's not the trend that people use images straight from the camera. They love to alter a little bit of the colors and then throw that in the magazine or on social media. So it's something which, with practice and with some experimentation, everybody can uh, plan their uh, own style or design their own style, and work on that, I guess.
Thanks, there,
all right,
Sachin.
thank you.
Yeah.
I think I will have to completely agree with Surbi here, who says it was an amazing session. Thanks to
Oh, thank you
Sachin,
so much.
you have pulled it out really well. So I definitely have to agree with Surbi
But
there.
I mean, I was expecting more questions. I got very less question. I hope that people understood, or I
It,
hope, I mean, it wasn't like completely gone.
it definitely was very, very simple to understand. I was following through the entire webinar.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
definitely this thing. And yeah, obviously we have asked and we have given them enough time to, ask their questions. So
Okay. Okay.
see, we have a comment there. I mean, I wish the attendees could speak, but we have answers coming in from the Q&A session where they say it was crystal clear. So what I guess you have succeeded there, definitely.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So
Great.
thanks Sachin, thanks Mansi, thanks to every attendee out there. It was a fantastic session.
One more thing, Shishir, I would like to speak to like people who are attending this.
Please.
So this, like, we did one more before, right? We did one more webinar before
Correct.
this, and then uh, do you think that most of these, they are like they are new and they had not attended the previous one?
Definitely, yes. I think Mansi can also add, and these are webinars which we are having to all our attendees
Okay.
from
Okay.
Sigmedu, where they have probably not
Okay.
attended.
Okay.
So,
So
any,
the reason I'm saying this because
Mhm.
in when lockdown started, I did this shoot, um, like a FaceTime shoot, which I had shown last time, but I would like to show it again for the simple reason that people will get an idea that what exactly they can do, and instead of just uh, staying away from photography, maybe definitely they can start working on something like this.
def-
So if we
that,
have
that
just a couple of minutes, maybe I would like to share that slide.
definitely, Sachin, definitely. And just before we move in, sorry, I'm interrupting there. Just before we move in there, there's one more question,
Okay,
right?
okay.
So, which is like, is there any specific platform or space for photographers to practice retouching? So I hope the question is not related to Photoshop. Maybe the question is anything other than Photoshop. Maybe that's the question.
Okay, uh, I don't understand exactly by what does specific space means. Uh, but
I think, Sachin, I'll just help you out. Shishir,
okay,
I think it also means if we can get some kind of images already shot where we can use those images
okay.
to edit. I think that's what the attendee means to say. Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah, exactly.
But I mean, there might be certain websites where you will get certain stock files and you can work on those files. Definitely, I'm sure that there will be there will be certain websites like that. But my point here is you are working on that retouching because you need to improve your retouching skill, and you're also a photographer, so need to understand that your retouching skill mm, should be connected to your photography. If you use anybody else's pictures and then work or improve those pictures, it's not gonna directly help you, I believe. It's better if you start working on your images, because then you will also know what kind of mistakes you're doing, and what kind of mistakes you're able to improve in Photoshop, and what kind of mistakes you need to improve while shooting. It will not only improve your retouching abilities, but also will show you the mistakes which you can improve while you're taking the pictures. So I believe that it's better that you shoot and then work on those particular images than doing it on somebody else's images, or at least do both. You cannot stick to just somebody else's images.
Agree. Agree. Yeah, I think you can go ahead with your slide presenting that.
Okay, so it's a very small slide which I would like to share with all of you guys. So I'm somebody who is like who needs to shoot very often, and so I was very stuck, and then I started this. So I did this shoot over the FaceTime. This model was in London, and then I shot it from Mumbai. So we did a FaceTime call, and then you know just did this as very quick editorial shoot where we planned everything a day before, like what time we will be shooting, when is the right light, what is the direction of the light, where we can place the camera and everything. I did it on uh, I did a FaceTime call on my iPad so that I could have a larger screen, and I took a picture of my iPad literally. And if you, I'm sure all of you are on Instagram. I'm sure you're doing all of this. I'm seeing you're seeing all of this, but like all this lockdown and everything started, so it was pretty new, and I really enjoyed doing it. So if you haven't done, maybe you can definitely uh, do it. And this actually gives a very interesting opportunity to work with certain models who otherwise you will not work with. Right now everybody is free. You can contact models who are literally away in different countries, and of different ethnicity, and work with them. So very interesting uh, chance and scope, I believe. And you can be as creative as possible. I did this uh, like I did this shoot, maybe I finished it in like maybe an hour or something like that. So I will just quickly show it. I hope everybody is able to see my screen. So yeah, and you can see here that I'm taking picture of the iPad. So it's a FaceTime call going on and it's done. And now I think everybody is doing it. Also, literally Vogue Italia did a editorial shoot with Bella Hadid, exact same way. So yeah, it's a very nice thing to do. You can do a lot of things. You can add on, like your model can add on some values. Uh, and it's, I really think that, the locations which I've used here, I wouldn't have otherwise. This is a house in London. I didn't think that, I will be able to use something like that. I mean, certain things, and it's a very interesting way of shooting. All of you should definitely give it a try. Yeah, that's it.
That was fantastic there, Sachin.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, I think it's time for the day. I think it was a fantastic session, and all attendees will definitely agree to that. We look forward for more association with you, more webinars.
Definitely, definitely,
So
definitely. Maybe sometime next week or something. Maybe we can do one more.
definitely we can plan that up. Mansi, we will take a note of this, and probably we can discuss and schedule one session and we'll
Sure,
focus on
sure,
the
sure.
same.
And thank you so much, Shishir. I mean, it's really amazing the way you're coordinating all of this last time also and this time.
Thank you.
Uh,
My
I'm
pleasure.
glad.
My pleasure. Anytime. So thanks everyone. Thanks all the
So
attendees.
everyone, stay safe
Yeah,
and use this time as much possible. Okay, don't stress yourself, but definitely use it as much possible.
fantastic. Okay. Thanks. Bye
All right.
bye everyone. Good
Bye.
day.